Macbeth. The tragedy of Macbeth is a study in evils and sins written in the third phase of Shakespeare's dramatic career, when it had reached the darkest depths of human psychology. This is one of the most time-enduring plays, but it is not a morality play, because in this play the treatment of good or evil was more like a psychological study. Nonetheless, it does impart a moral lesson that crime does not pay. Shakespeare had borrowed it from the Holinshed Chronicles of England, Scotland and Ireland. It is a play for the kings, and it was first enacted during the reign of King James I, who ruled over Scotland and England. Hello everyone, as promised earlier, I am back with a detailed study of Macbeth, and today I am going to explore the first two scenes of Act 1. Like all Shakespeare's plays, the first act of Macbeth is also supposed to be an expository act. But like most of Shakespeare's tragedies, he does not introduce any major character in the first scene of the play. The first scene takes place in a heath or a barren land, indicating the universal barrenness of human beings. It is a barren land or an open place, as written in most of the books, without any vegetation or landmarks. This setting on one hand indicates the wild Scottish landscape and symbolically the wilderness of man's existence in this universe. This is the place or the setting of the first scene of the play. Now the characters who we encounter in the first scene are the weird sisters or the witches. In most modern versions they are referred to as the witches, but in Old English the word weird, spelled W-Y-R-D, referred to the Fates, also called the Norns or the Moirae, the three sisters who controlled human destiny, namely Lachesis, Atropos and Clotho. Now let us see what these witches have to say. Thunder, lightning, enter three witches. When shall we three meet again? In thunder, lightning or in rain? When the hurly-burly is done, when the battle's lost and won. That will be ere the set of the sun. Where the place? Upon the heath, there to meet with Macbeth. So these weird sisters or the witches speak in rhyming verse that sound almost like chantings. And the time of their meeting is a chaotic weather. There is thunder, there is lightning, and there is also going to be rain, a contention of elements that is indicated by the stormy weather. They propose to meet again when the hurly-burly is done. The hurly-burly and the battle refers to the chaos in the human world or the contention of men. So these three weird sisters, they love to meet in a chaotic climate where there is a battle among the elements along with a battle among men. Then they start speaking in paradoxical language. They say when the battle's lost and won. Now the question that comes to our mind is, how can a battle be lost and won? There is a kind of contradiction in this statement. The witches are supposed to indicate that they are not involved in human affairs. If we look from the perspective of a third person, the person who is not involved in the battle, then in the battle one army loses or is vanquished while the other wins. So these riddling words of the witches indicate that they are going to meet the main character of this play when the battle is over and one side has won, the other has lost. And that will be ere the set of sun. That very day before the sunset, they had proposed to meet Macbeth, and the place of their meeting would again be the heath or the barren place. Then the first witch says, I come, Grimalkin. Paddock calls. Third witch, anon. All the three of them respond to the call of the creatures or the pets that are favorite to them. The Grimalkin is supposed to be a cat, an ominous and occult creature. The paddock is a toad, and the third witch also replies that she would be soon with her pet by saying anon, coming soon. Then all the three witches together, they speak in a confused note, in an equivocative note, and in a paradoxical tone. They together say, fair is foul and foul is fair, hover through the fog and fill the air. Another contradictory statement. This is very much expected from the witches. A confusion and contradiction that presents a picture in which discerning good from evil becomes difficult. This line indicates a moral ambiguity. It indicates that the witches love fog and fill the air, the ineffable evil. It's an impression of the hellish, the ineffable evil that they contribute to the atmosphere of the play. Now these three weird sisters, they suggest that a world where clarity is lost and hellish and evil forces roam free. This foreshadows the unsettling disruption of natural and divine order in Macbeth's world. It indicates that we are to expect the unexpected. Moral corruption and deceptive appearances are indicated by the line, fair is foul and foul is fair. What is good for the witches is bad for the human beings. What is bad for the witches is good for the human beings. So it is an inversion of natural and moral order that is foreshadowed in the first scene of this tragedy named Macbeth. Thank you. Stay tuned. I'll be back with the second scene right after this. Scene 2 of the first act tries to tell us what we are to expect in the forthcoming scenes of the play. It is also said to be a double opening where the supernatural element is connected with the bloodshed. This scene establishes a relation between the two, and the scene is a glorification of Macbeth, who inspires thoughts of appreciation. Now these magnified qualities of the man who is yet to appear on stage serves two dramatic purposes. Firstly, it makes us curious to meet this champion, and secondly, as a tragic hero, his fall would seem more impressive and pathetic. Scene 2 describes to us a battle, a prolonged battle in which Macbeth and Banquo have been sent by King Duncan to fight against the traitorous MacDonald, Thane of Cawdor, joining forces with the Norway and Irish armies. The battle details are narrated by a sergeant in a camp on the other side of the battlefield. Here we are introduced to Duncan, his two sons, Malcolm and Donalbain, to the lords of Lennox, Ross, Angus, and a bleeding, weary, wounded sergeant who has witnessed the war. He describes the first two phases of the war. The first one, in which MacDonald had rebelled and started a battle against King Duncan. Macbeth relentlessly killed MacDonald, but soon after that the Norwegian forces made a fresh attack and Macbeth defeated them also. Finally, Ross comes in and reports that the Thane of Cawdor was also defeated and killed. Macbeth and Banquo was said to have made the place another Golgotha. Let us now go through the lines and we will see how the sergeant glorifies Macbeth in this scene. Scene 2, a camp near Forres. Enter Duncan, Malcolm, Donalbain, Lennox with attendants, meeting a bleeding sergeant. What bloody man is that? He can report as seemeth by his plight of the revolt, the newest state. This is the sergeant who, like a good and hardy soldier, fought against my captivity. This soldier was brave enough to have saved Duncan's son Malcolm. Hail, brave friend, say to the king the knowledge of the broil as thou didst leave it. The sergeant, doubtful it stood, as two spent swimmers that do cling together and choke their art, the merciless MacDonald worthy to be a rebel, for to that the multiplying villainies of nature do swarm upon him. From the western isles of kerns and gallowglasses is supplied. So he narrates how in the initial part the battle seemed to be a contention between two armies that were equally brave, that were equally courageous, like two spent swimmers who choked their art and drowned themselves in the process of clinging on to one another. And he also narrates how MacDonald was truly a villain, and he had supplied himself with the armies of Ireland from the Western Isles. He had supplied himself with the kerns and the gallowglasses. The kerns are the Irish foot soldiers, while the gallowglasses are supposed to be the artillery soldiers or the cavalry soldiers. Sorry, artillery was not there at the time of Macbeth. They were the cavalry soldiers, the horse-ridden soldiers. And fortune on his damned quarrel smiling, showed like a rebel's whore, but all's too weak. So a profuse use of metaphors and similes have been used by the sergeant. First, he uses the metaphor of two drowning swimmers, describing the inertia of the two armies with equal valor. Then he uses a simile and personification of fortune as a fickle and fallen woman who supported MacDonald. But Macbeth, the brave Macbeth, reversed the entire situation, and disdaining fortune with his brandished steel, which smoked with bloody execution, like valor's minion, carved out his passage till he faced the slave, which ne'er shook hands, nor bade farewell to him, till he unseamed him from the nave to the chaps, and fixed his head upon our battlements. In the third simile, the sergeant compares Macbeth to valor's minion, the partner of personified valor or courage. And with his sword, he carved his way, killing all the soldiers, and until he met Macdonald, and he simply didn't slay him. But look at the metaphor of unseaming him from the nape to the chops. It's like opening the seam of a garment. He ripped open the body of Macdonald from his navel to his jaws. And not just that, he also decapitated him and placed his head on the battlement. This tells us how ferocious and how ruthless Macbeth was when he killed his enemies. O valiant cousin, worthy gentleman, as whence the sun gins his reflection, shipwrecking storms and direful thunders break, so from that spring whence comfort seemed to come, discomfort swells. Now, Duncan is exuberant in his appreciation of Macbeth, and he calls him a valiant cousin and a worthy gentleman. Now the sergeant tells him about a fresh new assault, and he says that the very source from which comfort came, another fresh assault was lodged by the Norwegian king, Mark, king of Scotland. Mark, no sooner justice had with valor armed, compelled these skipping kerns to trust their heels, but the Norwegian lord, surveying vantage to run away with furbished arms and new supplies of men, began a fresh assault. So as soon as Macbeth had been successful in sending the kerns back to their homeland, a fresh assault was begun by the Norwegian army. They started with fighting with a new supply of men and with furbished arms. But Macbeth and Banquo were not dismayed by the second attack. When Duncan asks him, "Dismayed not this our captains, Macbeth and Banquo?" Yes, as sparrows, eagles, or hare the lion. Now the sergeant compares the rebel forces to sparrows and hares, while Banquo and Duncan were like lions and eagles. The lions and eagles symbolize royalty. Lion symbolizes ferocity, and it is curious to note here that a lion appears in the Scotland's royal coat of arms also. So the sergeant points out Macbeth as a fearless, ruthless warrior. Why? He says, "I must report they were as cannons overcharged with double cracks." So first the metaphor of lions and evils, and then a simile of cannons that were doubly charged. Here once again I would like you to note that cannons or artilleries were not in use in the time of Macbeth. It is in the 1605 that this play was written, but the history or this battle had taken place way before that. So at that time it is quite probable that the battle had taken place with the help of steel arms like swords and daggers and so on. So here he says, "So doubly they did redouble strokes upon the foe, except they meant to bathe in reeking wounds or memorize another Golgotha." The last metaphor that is used by the sergeant is that Banquo and Macbeth were probably trying to recreate another Golgotha. Golgotha, we know, is a biblical allusion. It refers to that mound in Jerusalem which was the place of execution, and Christ also had been crucified in Golgotha. All these metaphors give a graphic account of Macbeth's superheroism and as a warrior hero, establishes him as a warrior hero. The sergeant points him out as a fearless, ruthless warrior with superhuman prowess, a man of raw strength, a relentless fighter. This makes Macbeth a hero and a celebrated figure. Now Duncan tells the sergeant that his words were very befitting to his current state, but the sergeant was weak and needed medical aid, and so he was sent off. At this point of time, Ross, one of the lords, enter, and the king asks him where he was coming from. He says that he was coming from Fife, where the Norwegian banners flout the sky and fan our people cold. Norway himself with terrible numbers, assisted by that most disloyal traitor, the Thane of Cawdor, began a dismal conflict, till that Bellona's bridegroom, lapped in proof, confronted him with self-comparisons, point against point, rebellious, arm against arm, curbing his lavish spirit, and to conclude, the victory fell on us. So here, Ross tells the king that another assault that had begun by the Norwegian army or the Norwegian king, Sweno, was assisted by the traitorous Thane of Cawdor. But all were too weak in front of Macbeth because he was Bellona's bridegroom. Bellona was the Roman goddess of warfare, and Macbeth has been compared by Ross to the bridegroom of Bellona, who confronted the battle, the army, the enemies, with a lot of valor, and he completely defeated them, vanquished them, so much so that the victory came to the Scottish army. Great happiness, Duncan is, terribly happy, euphoric. Ross, that now Sweno the Norway's king craves composition, nor would we deign him burial of his men till he disbursed at St. Colm's Inch $10,000 to our general use. No more that Thane of Cawdor shall deceive our bosom interest, says Duncan. Go pronounce his present death, and with his former title greet Macbeth. He ends the scene with a rhyming couplet. Now, Macbeth becomes a celebrated figure, a hero, but these lines at the end of the scene subtly foreshadows his tragic trajectory, his downfall. In spite of being such a worthy man, the language that is used in the ending couplet by Duncan indicates an urgency and also an absolute trust in Macbeth. And he is so happy with his cousin that he wants to invest Macbeth with the thainship of Cawdor after having him executed. The betrayal of the Thane of Cawdor adds a layer of irony. How? Because it fulfills the second prophecy of the witches. It is a dramatic irony because Macbeth is yet to know that he has been bestowed with the title and he is going to be the Thane of Cawdor, hailed by the witches in the next scene. This dramatic irony deepens the tension and foreshadows the tragic events that will follow as the play progresses. It also underscores the theme of fate versus free will. Macbeth, being ignorant of the second prophecy coming true, once again is a dramatic irony, because we understand that the occult forces to which the witches belong, the weird sisters belong, they had already foreseen the reality, and Macbeth's rewards for his acts of bravery, or to put it more aptly, his acts of relentless violence, seems to foreshadow the theme of allure for power, because after becoming the Thane of Cawdor and along with being the Thane of Glamis, he is one step ahead to becoming the King of Scotland. This also indicates the potential consequences of valor, which is untempered by moral restraint. With this, we come to the end of the second scene of the play that establishes Macbeth as the hero of this play, and it will be interesting for us to note gradually how this hero comes to his end or meets his downfall and death. Stay tuned, I'll be back soon with the third scene and the fourth scene together. Goodbye and good day for today. Happy learning. Thank you for watching my videos, commenting and sharing. Do keep on watching, liking, commenting and sharing, and don't forget to subscribe and press the bell icon so that you get an update of all the new videos that I keep posting.